So welcome on behalf of Rafiq and the family to this very special celebration of Helen Choudhury's life. My name is Alison Dines. I'm a celebrant from Bridport, and it's my great privilege and pleasure to lead this ceremony today. Her passing has been a huge loss to her family, of course, and her close friends, and also to our whole community of Bridport, as evidenced by the fact that so many of you have come to pay your respects. Today we're going to reflect on her life and what she meant to you, how she contributed so generously as a wife, a mother, grandmother, family woman, business partner, friend, and colleague. Welcome, family from London and all around London, I believe, and good friends from Doncaster. Welcome to all of you. I'm sure there are many people who would love to be here today as well, and we particularly remember Helen's family in Guyana and Rafiq's family in India. And we're being recorded for family in the States, in Canada, Holland, and Germany, and anyone else who knows Helen. And I hope it will be a source of comfort and pride that this whole theatre is full, even the top tier. Today is Helen's birthday. She would be 71 today, and we have a beautiful gift for her this afternoon, the gift of wonderful memories, of love and of gratitude. We're going to hear about her many happy relationships, her achievements, and the projects planned for the future to continue her legacy. She had an amazing work ethic. She was a shining light of kindness and community spirit, and she cared about everybody, whether she knew them or not. And often her care was expressed through food, so expect quite a lot of talking about food this afternoon. And I hope that by the end of this celebration of her life, you will leave here knowing more about Helen and appreciating her gifts even more. So let's begin with her story. She was born on the 21st of April 1953, the eldest child of parents Rup Nareen and Gauri Singh from Georgetown in Guyana. Her father worked for a large insurance brokers in the town, and Helen, Harmattie as she was named, was their eldest. 6 brothers and 1 sister followed. She was clever, she enjoyed school, but it was quite far away. So to be a bit closer, she would sometimes live away with relatives. She won various prizes over the years and had the honour of being one of the school's top students, chosen to meet the president and put a garland around his neck. She left school at 16, and by the age of 17, she was on her way here to England to study to be a nurse. It was a very brave move, leaving everything and everyone that she knew, coming on her own to a country so different in every way to her homeland. What must she have thought when she arrived in our English winter, especially if it was anything like it has been? Such a contrast after the dry heat of Guyana. She had it all planned out, though. She had written to an uncle to meet her at Heathrow, but unfortunately the letter was delayed and he didn't receive it in time. So Helen found herself at the arrivals, alone, with no idea how to get to Christchurch Hospital. Fortunately, helped by kind strangers, she made it safely, and she lived on site in a nurse's residence with lots of other women from different countries, where she made good friends. And apparently, she never ever complained about the weather in this country, although she so often had a cold. And she never looked back. England became her home, although she always enjoyed going back to Guyana to see family and friends. She met Rafiq through mutual friends at the hospital. On his day off from his restaurant job, he would visit his medical friends at the residence, and he liked Helen from the start, but she was very cautious. And having had a traditional upbringing, their relationship began as friendship and always in the company of others. Rafiq had a car, and one day he offered to take a friend of Helen's to the airport, and Helen went with them to say goodbye to her friend. And that meant a car journey home, just the 2 of them. And that was the perfect opportunity to get to know each other more. Helen, being the polite, hospitable woman that we know, offered him a cup of tea after the journey, but then got very nervous about being alone with him, so she made him stop so she could buy some cake, and at that point recruited a friend to join them. Their first evening together was at a disco in a group of friends, and slowly their friendship grew stronger. Helen's father came for a visit, and Rafiq took him for a drive around Bournemouth to show him the sights. Her father liked him very much and asked Helen about their relationship, to which she replied they were just friends. But finally, Rafiq's cousin asked Helen in the traditional way if she would like to marry Rafiq, and she was encouraged to say yes with her father's blessing. And so it was on the 7th of May, Rafiq's birthday, that they became engaged, and just 6 days later, on the 13th of May, 1973, they were married. And that was the start of a close and happy partnership. Both of them felt the comfort and security of having each other as they navigated their new life in a new country. They set up home in Bournemouth, and Helen, who was a qualified nurse by now, continued nursing after their first child, Cliff, was born in 1974. And at that point, Helen and Rafiq started their own business in Bournemouth, beginning with the New Delhi takeaway and then a restaurant called the Taj Tandoori. Helen's nursing knowledge was never wasted, though. You may recall a shocking incident in 2006 here in Bridport, where 3 young women were stabbed on the bus right outside the restaurant. Helen came to the rescue immediately and knew exactly what to do, compressing their wounds and stopping further blood loss, staying calm and confident throughout. On the 5th of April 1977, Helen and Rafiq welcomed their daughter Sarah into the world, and they continued to live in Bournemouth, and in 1983, Rafiq opened a second restaurant, the Taj Mahal, here in Bridport. And this began a 40-year association with this town. In 1986, Rafiq gave Helen a wonderful surprise. He told her that they were going to an anniversary party at a house on a new estate in Creekmore in Poole, and when they arrived all together to Honeysuckle Lane, they found a perfect brand new home with a garden. He handed Helen the front door keys, and when she opened the door, family and friends were waiting to celebrate with them. She was shocked. It was over the moon. This was her first home just for her family, because she'd always lived either in a nurse's residence or above the restaurant, sharing with staff. Now she had her own home, a husband and 2 lovely children. Life was busy as Rafiq was going to and fro from Bridport, and Helen was running the restaurant in Bournemouth. Just before Christmas in 1992, Sanjay was born, a lovely late blessing. While he was still very young, it was clear that 2 restaurants was just too much, and so they sold Bournemouth and invested all their time and efforts in Bridport. Helen's work ethic meant that nothing could stop her. She seemed invincible. Even when she wasn't feeling well, nobody would ever know. She had very strong principles. She believed in karma, that doing good would create more good, and she expressed that through her work. And she was a very spiritual, empathetic person. She prayed every day, not only for her family, but for our whole community. And as you know, and as we will hear, she was closely involved a lot with others, personally and with groups. Her children all grew up, and she was so happy to welcome partners and grandchildren into the family and see the generations following on. She adored her grandchildren, and we're going to hear more from the family. 2 years ago, it became clear that she was unwell when she developed jaundice. But every test and biopsy was inconclusive, and even when cancer was suspected, she never had a formal diagnosis because the doctors couldn't find the source. Finally, the family understood from her death certificate that she had been suffering with a very rare form of bile duct cancer, malignant cholangiocarcinoma. She was never happy talking about her illness, even to close family. She never wanted the fuss, and she held off until, unfortunately, she had no choice. Helen Harmattie would like to be remembered as a loving family woman, committed to her work and her business. to projects to help the community. She expressed her love for people through her food, a source of comfort, pleasure, and strength. She was a very humble and modest woman who, even though she avoided the limelight, she thoroughly deserves all the praise and the plaudits that she is going to receive today. So now let's begin with tributes from friends, and I'd like to invite Peter Jones, who is a long-standing friend of the family, a loyal customer of the Taj Mahal for over 40 years. He's going to share some of his memories, including a visit to Guyana. He is the former chair of Dorset Police and the Tote. Peter.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Rafiq, Cliff, Sarah, and over there, the little one. It's a great privilege to be able to talk to you today about my memories of Helen. The sheer size of the audience today here indicates the affection we all had for her. Liz and I, my wife, came down to this area in Melplash 50 years ago, used to the Indian restaurants in London, and rather sad that there was no Indian restaurant in Bridport. That was put right, obviously, with the opening of the Taj Mahal in 1983. And that's where I first met Helen, shortly after the restaurant opened, when I was a much lesser man than I am today. In fact, I was a 7-stone weakling, I think, at that particular point. But that was before I chanced upon the Choudhury family, and umpteen meals later, dozens of onion barges, plenty of chicken tikkas, and you can see the wonders that Helen's cooking. There was always a fantastic welcome at the restaurant, with Rafiq strutting his stuff in front of house, and Helen, when she came down to join the restaurant full-time, supervising the cooking. My wife and I were immediately captured by the quality of the food and the warmth of the greetings. From the early days, we took our children with us, and our son, Koki, had his 7th birthday party in the Taj Mahal with his mates, creating yet another generation of lovers of Indian food. Of course, we all know the Choudhury secret. Helen had a magic ingredient that she put into her curries that created an ongoing yearning for more. The chicken madras was fantastic at the time, but a week or two later, you got an itch for more, and that developed into the irresistible pressure to go back for another fix. I'm a statistician, so I can bore for Britain on numbers. And I've calculated along my family, we've eaten more than 1,000 meals at the Taj Mahal. I never had a bad one. Take that, TripAdvisor. In the 90s, Sarah started as a waitress with her magnificent saris that matched her mum's her style and sophistication. Sarah had a special charm, but a steely manner that I think she probably learned from her mother, that tamed the lads that came for a curry after a few pints on Saturday night. Rafiq could get a little bit agitated, as he does, but Sarah would get them under control and out of the restaurant if necessary. Truly her mother's daughter. Then Sanjay came along, and we saw him grow up from a baby in arms through to a toddler, through to a top-class county tennis player, and into the smashing son he is today. I know that Helen took special pride in the way that Sanjay took over the restaurant and the joy she had in the marriage of Sanjay to the lovely Amanda. And they continued to keep my body in fine shape. Helen was very much a family person, and Liz and I had the good fortune to go to Guyana, her country of birth, in 2007 when we stayed with one of her brothers on the outskirts of Georgetown, the capital of Guyana. It's a very modest area, not at all like the Caribbean we think of, even though Guyana is a member of the West Indies and supply regularly top-class players to the West Indian cricket team. It's on a tributary to the Demerara River, where her parents and grandparents grew up. We were in Guyana for a holiday following my colon cancer and to see the World Cup 50 overs cricket in the new stadium in Georgetown. We were given a magnificent welcome by all of Helen's family, which were very close to her. And we managed to pack a couple of Hindu weddings in as well as the cricket. We saw at first hand how Helen had been brought up and understood her transition from home through to nurse training to restaurateur in Bournemouth and Bridport. Helen was held in high regard in Guyana for her humanity and for her achievements in England. Well deserved. She was a lovely person and a great example to all of us. And Helen, I forgive you for my expansion. Your friendship and your magnificent courage were well worth the sacrifice. Thank you.
Next, we're going to hear from Mohammed Rashid, MBE. Sorry, that got missed off the programme. He's a cousin of Helen's by marriage, I believe, and he's going to say a few words and also read a tribute sent by the High Commissioner of Guyana, Dr. Rajendra Singh, who grew up with Helen.
Rafiq and Helen, or as affectionately known to me and my family as Didi, and they live simple lives, very humble, especially Helen. But they also rub shoulders with royals and with presidents and prime ministers. And coming from Guyana, they were good friends with the late president of Guyana, Dr. Chedi Jagan. In fact, Rafiq was one of the only persons when the president visited the UK were allowed to take him around and were allowed to stay with him in his hotel. So close they were. And when Helen passed away, one of the former presidents, Donald Ramothar, sent messages to the family on their loss. And just before Helen passed away, her cousin was appointed the High Commissioner of Guyana to the UK. He's a good friend of mine, and I alert him about this. And he gave me a message because he couldn't make it then, and as well as today. And he sent his apology. And so I was asked to read this message from him. On this very sad occasion, my wife and I join with family and friends to say so long to our dear sister, Harmattie Choudhury. Kaylow, as she was called, was originally from Canal Polder, but visited us at Unity Village, mostly on school holidays, and became very close to my sisters. A relationship that was maintained even after her migration to the UK. Just recently, one of my sisters reminded me of the wonderful time she shared with Kaylow and how gracious and happy Kaylow always was in her interaction, not only with her, but with everyone she came into contact with. How true that is. Upon my arrival to London about 18 months ago, Kaylow reached out to me and with the same graciousness welcomed my wife and I to London and offered her assistance to us. As we settled in, She insisted that we must visit her in Dorset. We regret not being able to visit her. As we say so long, we wish to assure her that you will always be in our memory. Rest in eternal peace, our sister. From His Excellency, Mr. Dr. Rajendra Singh, High Commissioner of Guyana to the United Kingdom. Thank you very much.
I'm going to invite Kathy Green, she is now, was Dare. She's a professional marketeer working for the Melplash Agricultural Society and other local businesses, and a former committee member and chair of the Bridport Local Food Group. And she and Helen worked together on various food-related projects for the Bridport Local Food Group and the Melplash Show. And they have formed a very strong friendship.
Helen was my very best friend, and I loved her dearly. Although I haven't known her for as long as many of you here today, we were close friends and met for breakfast most weeks in one of the cafes around the town. Our friendship began after I moved back to Bridport and became involved with the Bridport Local Food Group and the Food Festival in 2007. To showcase the town's food and drink businesses, I came up with the idea of running a feast night in the town. To get the support, I visited all the hospitality businesses, including, of course, the Taj Mahal. I remember Rafiq sending me into the kitchen, where Helen was, as usual, hard at work. We agreed to meet for breakfast to discuss, and so our friendship began. I had, at around that time, started some new cooking competitions at the Melplash Show and persuaded Helen to run a curry competition. People who entered, hopefully some of you did here, used to bring their dishes to the Taj Mahal the day before the show to be judged, and then the winning dishes were put on display on show day. I think it was following this that Helen decided that there was a need for her to share her cooking skills and help the community to cook Indian cuisine. We started to run her Indian masterclasses during the food festival week. And when the cookery theatre started at Melplash Show, Helen was the first chef on the list. We would decide together what she would cook, and then she would cook the dishes so I could take down the recipes for the handouts. She was totally amazed at the popularity of both activities, which she continued to do until 2022. Helen was always happy to listen to my ideas and supported me as much as she could. I, in return, helped her and supported Helen with her plans and ideas for the restaurant, including building a new website, setting up and managing social media and TripAdvisor, updating the restaurant menus, and also, most recently, helping with the refurb of the restaurant. All the photos on display were selected by Helen and represent her Asian culture, love of Indian cuisine, and her and Rafiq's heritage. I learned a lot about Helen's early life too, growing up with her family in Guyana, coming to the UK, training and working as a nurse at Christchurch, and meeting and marrying the love of her life, Rafiq. I did ask her once whether it was love at first sight. She wasn't too sure. She met him when he drove a group of her nursing friends to the cinema. She said she was sitting in the back and he kept looking at her and smiling. I'll leave Rafiq to tell you the rest, but I think it was, don't you, Rafiq? Helen was not someone who sought the limelight. As she used to say, that was Rafiq's role. She preferred to be in the background, keeping the wheels turning and making sure her family were happy. The restaurant was running smoothly and helping others when she could. She was so very kind and generous. COVID was a good example. With no staff and an empty restaurant, Helen, with Sanjay's help, soon started to offer a takeaway and delivery service, offering a pared-down menu of popular favourites at special prices. And friends and regulars would often be surprised by a bag of their favourite curry on their doorstep. When the Thursday Garden Glut and Food Surplus store was opened in St Swithin's Church, car park by Peter Wilson and the Bridport Local Food Group, Helen would freshly cook curries for the store, something she has done since when time allowed, and something the family are very keen to continue in her memory. During our friendship, I was fortunate to share with Helen some of her very significant times, including the building of her house in Guyana, a project undertaken by her brothers. They would send photos of building materials, and I helped Helen choose the tiles, flooring, etc. And I'm so pleased that she managed to see it finished and stay there when she went over to Sanjay and Priya's wedding. I remember how she couldn't wait to tell me that Rafiq had bought a caravan at Freshwater. She so loved it and really enjoyed spending the time there with her family and friends. The excitement of receiving the invite and attending the Queen's Garden party with Rafiq. If you've been lucky like me to see the photos, you will see how amazing she looked. And of course, so did Rafiq. And 2 years ago, the marriage of Sanjay to Priya, and last year, Sarah's wedding to Cheyenne. I am today wearing the outfit that Helen kindly bought for me to wear when she went to India with Rafiq last summer. We had planned to do so many things together over the next few years, including going on day trips with our bus passes. I actually had to dissuade Helen to get a bus pass to enable it to happen, but it's never done. Sadly, that's not going to happen now, but there are a few things that I am determined to still do in her memory. Helen was very keen to get Bridport cooking Indian cuisine, not just socially, but also to get people to understand that you don't have to be from an Indian background to cook and work in an Indian restaurant. We were planning to publish her recipes and also run some cookery classes for young people. Both activities, with the family's help, I'm hoping that we will still be able to do in memory of Helen. Sanjay and I are already planning the cookery book in memory of Helen. In honour of Helen, the Bridport Local Food Group is going to rename the Cookery Theatre at this year's Food Festival the Helen Choudhury Cookery Theatre and help to raise funds for research into the bile duct cancer, the rare cancer that Helen sadly had. The Choudhury family, Cliff, Sarah and Sanjay, will also be giving a cooking demonstration. Sanjay is going to continue to supply curries to the food store at St Swithin's Church and will be cooking again at the Melplas show. I make a promise, Helen, that Mark and I will care and be there for you and your family whenever they need us, and even when they don't. Happy birthday, my dear friend. Thank you for your love and friendship. I will never forget you.
Thank you, Kathy. Many of you may know Michael and Joy Michaud. They are chili farmers and co-owners of Sea Spring Seeds. And Michael and Helen did many cookery demonstrations together at the Eden Project, and they did TV appearances, including with the late Terry Wogan. They competed for the country's hottest curry, and Michael and Joy's fieriest chili went into the Dorset Blast. If you've ever experienced that, it was proved very popular at the restaurant. So, Michael and Joy.
One of the first times Helen and I met was about 30 years ago. It was in an event at the Colfax School in Bridport. And she was given a cookery demonstration. And somehow I ended up helping chop up the vegetables for the demonstration to help out. And that was the beginning of our friendship. Based partly, perhaps mostly on our love of food. It was a good starting point. In my mind, Helen will always be inseparably associated with the Taj Mahal. She put everything into that, and it reflected what she was in many ways. My lasting impression of the restaurant was having a fun evening, an experience shared by a lot of us in Bridport. Whenever we ate there, the food was invariably delicious, and there was always a buzz of people enjoying themselves. It was about fun. It was just a really nice place to go. And besides the food, everything was meticulous. The linen, I don't know why I remember the linen, but it was spotless. It was crisp. It just stood out, and it just reflected what that restaurant was. The staff were helpful and friendly, and the service was quick. It was just so well run, everything. And the flowers, they were fresh. Who does fresh flowers? Really? And that's what that restaurant was all about. She set high standards, and she knew her customers well. I mean, one time, a regular came to pick up a takeaway, and she asked him how his bathroom was coming. And apparently, he had been in the restaurant a couple of weeks ago, and she asked him how everything's going, and he said he's having his bathroom fixed. And so she followed through with that. And that was Helen, just wanted that little bit of extra personal connection with her customers. But the restaurant was only one part of Helen's connection to food. There were the dishes that she cooked in the flat over the restaurant where she and Rafiq lived. They were mainly for family, though any friends dropping by would be expected to share. The style was different to the restaurant food and was Guyanese Indian mixed with Caribbean or something like that. And watching her cook at home was a wonder. No recipes, of course, all done by memory. And she performed miracles with herbs and spices. She just knew how they worked. Nothing was ever overdone, and the flavors were always in balance. It was just superb cooking. And it was this home cooking that she shared in the cookery demonstrations and lessons that she gave over the years. She made an appearance at the Eden Project and was a regular at the Bridport Food Festival and Melpless Show. But for her, these weren't just throwaway events. She took them very seriously and put a lot of work into the recipes that she handed out. I mean, she would obsess over make sure that recipes were perfect. All the while, she made sure that the dishes she was demonstrated reached the high standards that she set. She also did some television, River Cottage with her rabbit curry, and of course, Sir Terry Wogan's last TV show. And that's where my wife and I come in. But first, a little background. Joy and I were, and still are, selling a very hot chili called the Dorset Naga, which is, for some strange reason, well known throughout the UK. And Helen, in the restaurant, used it in a dish she called Dorset Blast, a very hot curry for heat lovers only. We supplied her with the fruit, which she then froze to use all year round. Now, that's the background. The producers of Sir Terry's show wanted to include Dorset Naga for a film shoot they were going to conduct in the spring. But there was one problem. We only had small plants, and they didn't have any fruit on it. So what do? You call Helen. Said, Helen, we need some help. Would you mind demonstrating the Dorset Blast on TV for Terry Wogan? So on the day, Terry Wogan shows up, all smiles, and Helen shows up in her sari, and one Dorset Blast was cooked outdoors in the back garden. No muss, no fuss, no bother, no problem. Just very elegantly turned it out. Sir Terry gulped it down, seemed to enjoy it, leaving Helen and I wondering how he could eat something so hot. Certainly a magic day, sharing a unique food experience with Helen and Sir Terry. One I'll remember for the rest of my life. But one thing I learned over the years, 30 years, Helen's approach to food reflected a personality defined by hard work, integrity, pride, and dignity. These are old-fashioned values that nowadays aren't valued very much. But that was Helen, just doing what came naturally.
I'm Joy, the other half of Michael and Joy. Well, after all that, what can you say about Helen? She was strong-willed, hard-working, loving, loyal to her family, friends, and to Bridport, the whole of Bridport. She loved Bridport. And I felt privileged that she was my friend. As Michael says, our friendship started, and to agree, was always based on Helen's and Michael's love of food. I just tagged along for the rides, and a great ride it was. We would often sit in Helen's kitchen over a cup of tea, and of course she'd always give us something to eat. Wonderful food, delicious food, and I'd just enjoy eating it. But Michael and Helen would then discuss the ingredients, how it was cooked, what it went with, and they just were in heaven together talking about their food. She and Michael did so much together, from cookery demonstrations and recipe development to being on TV together, literally giving a cookery demonstration in the tropical dome at Eden Project. Right, amazing. And we went up to London one time to compete in the nation's hottest curry. That trip to London was fun. The four of us went, Helen, Rafiq, me and Michael. It was Helen and Michael's thing, and Rafiq and I were just there as the plus ones. But we went up on the bus, and Helen, as always, the mother, gave us food. We had brought sandwiches, but we didn't touch them. Her food was so much better than ours. In London, they didn't win, though they should have done, because the curry was by far the best. Helen was from Guyana, as we know, and I learnt that you cannot hand a chili directly to a person from Guyana. It's bad luck. I learnt this early on when I didn't know Helen very well. We grow chilies, and one day she turned up needing chilies for the restaurant. We walked around looking for the right type, the right heat level, the right flavour, and I'd pick a chili and pass it to her for her to taste. But she would back away. I thought, what on earth? I was a bit worried. What was I doing wrong? And then I'd pick another one, and she'd do the same. She said, put it down, put it down. So I'd put the chili down, and then she'd pick it up and try it. I was a slow learner, but eventually I figured it out and cottoned on. And since then, in all the 30 years we've known her, and all the chilies we've given her, I have never once handed the chili directly to her. I've always put it on the table, and then she's picked it up, and go from there. 20 years ago, Mike and I developed what at the time was the world's hottest chili, called the Dorset Naga. We talked about it. And Helen, always a businesswoman, immediately saw its potential and developed this most amazing curry called the Dorset Blast that Michael mentioned. And I'm told by people who can cope with the heat that it's quite delicious. Of course it is, because it was Helen's, but I can't. It's way too hot for me. And being one of Helen's recipes, Sanjay now tells me that even now, all those 20 years later, even now they're selling up to 5 to 10, depending on the season, curries of the Dorset Blast, and they're being eaten because it is such a lovely curry. Helen was glamorous and exotic. She was kind, generous, and had the capacity to make you feel special. Sometimes we'd sit in the restaurant with her, and every customer who came in, she would greet. She would talk about the bathroom renovation that Michael mentioned, or the health of the mother-in-law to the customers that came in, as if she had spoken to them just yesterday about it. She would remember every detail of every conversation she had with every single customer. She didn't gossip, she didn't pass it on, but she remembered and she cared. And she would make that person she was talking to feel special at that moment, the most important person there. And this wasn't because it was good business. It was because she genuinely cared about that person. She cared about everybody. And I felt special and immensely honoured that she called me her friend. I know the whole of Bridport will miss her.
So I think we have probably one of the longest standing members of staff with Emily, who started at the restaurant at the age of 15 and has been a firm family friend ever since. And Emily not only has a full-time job in London, but she still can't be kept away from the restaurant on either a Friday or a Saturday, or both.
Coming behind all those lovely tributes, this was never going to be easy, and not just a reaffirmation of what everyone else knows. For those of you who don't know us, I'm Emily, and this is Mike. We're family friends and grateful for the opportunity to pay tribute to Helen, who was a true friend and whom we greatly loved and admired. We shared the recipe for a perfect friendship. We loved to eat amazing food, and Helen loved to cook amazing food, which she always created from the heart. My family have been privileged to have a long-standing relationship with Helen and her family. I joined the team in the restaurant in the beginning, back in 1982, while I was still at school. Once I left school, I moved away, but my mother, Peggy, after 25 years as landlady at the Tiger Inn, joined them and worked there for a further 21 years. At the age of 74, she was still working at the restaurant until she fell ill. Having just moved back to Bridport, I offered to help Helen until she found someone else. It warms my heart to say that 20 years later, I'm still there and have loved every moment of working there and being part of the family. Aside from a working relationship, over 30 years ago, Helen became one of my closest friends, following the birth of our sons, Sanjay and Jonathan, who also became best of friends, playing together in their childhood, while Helen and I watched them grow into the wonderful young men they've become. Jonathan was sorry to miss today, but was already committed to fulfilling best duties as a best man. My mother and Helen were also close friends, and during my mother's illness, Helen not only showed loving care to her, but was also there to provide support for me through the toughest of times. As families, we have also shared the best of times, which normally involve convivial meals or enticing Helen from the kitchen to take a break and go out to share a breakfast. Helen also cooked fabulous Guyanese food, and on one occasion, as we helped her at the allotment, she lit a fire and prepared a delicious Guyanese cook-up for us all to share, with succulent chicken, vegetables and rice. During quiet moments in the restaurant, my mother and Helen would also disappear into the kitchen to make themselves egg and chips. Of course, once they prepared this, it would guarantee that customers would arrive. While Helen was not a drinker, she did enjoy my mother's port and cheese at Christmas. And this is a tradition we've always kept going, even after the loss of my mother. As we all know, Helen had a true passion for food and shared this not only in the restaurant and through events promoting local food, within the local community, cooking for friends, the elderly, in support of fundraising events, and of course to provide food for those in need of a helping hand. During the pandemic, Helen rose to the challenge and created reasonably priced meals to deliver out amongst the community. I was always happy to help with these endeavours, relishing the opportunities offered by Helen and sharing in Helen's drive and enthusiasm. Queen Elizabeth II shared the same birthday as Helen. Now, I recently read how on meeting Queen Elizabeth, the first president of Ghana described the Queen as so simple, so small, an amazing woman. Words which can equally be applied to Helen. I will truly miss Helen, who was the most supportive and loving friend anyone could wish for. Helen created a communion in Bridport where people could share her passion for the food she offered and prepared with love. Thankfully for all of us, this is something she shared with her family, and I know Sanjay will continue Helen's legacy, and I would invite you all to share in this legacy. Thank you, and once again, happy birthday, Helen.
Now we're going to see some favourite photos of Helen.
आँखों से फिर ये प्यार की बरसात हो न हो, शायद फिर इस जन्म में मुलाकात हो न हो। लग जा गले के फिर ये हंसी रात हो न हो, शायद फिर इस जन्म में मुलाकात हो न हो। लग जा गले, लग जा गले। हंसी रात, लग जा गले के फिर हंसी रात हो न हो, शायद फिर इस जन्म में मुलाकात हो न हो। लग जा गले के फिर ये हंसी रात हो न हो, शायद फिर इस जन्म में मुलाकात हो न हो। लग जा गले। हमको मिली
So now let's hear from the family. I'm not going to interrupt everybody, I'm just going to let them flow, but please welcome Rafiq and his grandchildren.
Ladies and gentlemen, today as we gather to remember and honor the extraordinary life of my beloved wife, Helen, my heart is heavy with both sorrow and gratitude. Sorrow for the immense loss we all feel, and gratitude for the profound blessing it was to have shared over 5 decades by her side. Helen was not just my wife, she was the very essence of love and devotion. For more than half a century, she graced my life with her presence and her laughter and her unwavering support. She was my rock, my confidante, and my greatest source of joy. In every sense of the word, Helen was exceptional. She was the epitome of grace, kindness, and resilience. Her dedication to our family knew no bounds. As the heart and soul of our home, she poured her love into every aspect of our lives, nurturing our children, guiding them with wisdom and compassion. But Helen's love extended far beyond the walls of our home. She was a pillar of strength in our community, tirelessly giving herself to those in need Her generosity knew no bounds, and her commitment to making a difference touched the lives of countless individuals. One of the things I admire most about my Helen was her humility. Despite her many accomplishments and the praise she received, she remained humble and grounded. She never sought recognition or accolades. Her greatest joy came from seeing others happy and cared for. As I stand before you today, my heart aches with the realization that my Helen is no longer by my side. Her absence leaves a void that can never be filled, and the pain of losing her is indescribable. But amidst the grief, I find solace in knowing that her legacy of love and kindness will live on in the hearts of our children and grandchildren. Helen was my love, my life, my everything. Word cannot express the depth of my love for you or for the gratitude I feel for having shared a lifetime with you. You were the best wife any man could ask for, and I will carry your memory in my heart until we meet again. Rest in peace, my beloved Helen. You will forever be cherished and deeply missed.
Our Nan meant the world to us. She was a huge part in all of our lives. Her warmth and her fun-loving spirit has already been dearly missed, as well as her cooking. The comfort and strength that she's brought to each and every one of us has been so immense and irreplaceable. As we stand here today and share all of our incredible memories, it is clear our beautiful Nan has left an unforgettable mark on all of our lives.
We have always counted ourselves so lucky to have our Nan in our lives. We have relied on her for pretty much everything, and she always has had time to listen. Having someone so incredible to turn to for even the small things has taught me so much, and I know I speak for all of us when I say that Nan was such an inspiration and the best role model we could ask for. To us, Nan was pretty much all-knowing. She had so much knowledge on every topic of life and has luckily passed down some amazing advice on how to go through life to me and my sister.
People often say the common phrase, sorry for your loss, but I never truly understood the depth of those words until my Nan passed away. Our gossip sessions, shopping trips and afternoon teas will be so greatly missed. Even just coming up the stairs to see Nan in the kitchen cooking us up 101 dishes and greeting us with a huge hug and kisses is something that will always be kept so close to my heart. So thank you, Nan, for everything. I love you and I miss you more than words could say.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's quite obvious how much my mum meant to everybody. I mean, look at the turnout. It's absolutely incredible, and I just want to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart for being there for us. Every time we step out onto the road, someone will come up to us and give us a hug or just send their love to us, and this is what is keeping us going throughout all of this. I can't express how tough it is to lose Mum. I've had so many friends that have lost their parents, and until now, I never knew how tough that is until I lost my own mum. I don't know where to begin when I talk about Mum. There's too many good things about Mum to even begin to mention anything. But she's such a kind an amazing lady. She just, like, even from being young, finishing a school day, I'd come home and she'd make sure if I was okay. She'd ask how my day was, and she would always have something prepared for me to eat before I'd go off to play tennis. Everybody knows I used to play tennis when I was a lot younger. So she'd always make sure that I would be well fed and just ready for the day. One thing about Mum which she did incredibly was she would always make me feel welcome and would always make me feel valued, whether I'm in England or if I went to Guyana and visited elder family who I never met in my life. She would always introduce me with such a kind heart. She'd introduce me to everybody, and she'd make me feel involved. And I think everybody in the crowd has also had that same thing when Mum has made them feel involved with meeting people or just being around them. When I was 17, I had an opportunity to move away to Australia and to Canada to teach tennis in the academies there. And I was going to do it until Mum asked me, she said, "Do you really want to leave me?" At the time, I said, yeah. And she started crying. And I then realized she didn't want me to leave. So I didn't. And I'm very fortunate that for the last, 17, 18 years, I've had the privilege to work with her every single day and to learn everything from her. And not only about work, it's about life, about how to treat people, how to conduct yourself, she taught me everything I knew in that time, and that's something that I will take with me from now till the rest of my life. I'll die knowing that I learned so much from my mum. Quite hard to talk about this. During so many people have spoke about the charity work that Mum has done, and I've been fortunate enough to help her with every bit of it. She's done so much charity for people. I've seen people walk into our restaurant with foot problems, broken feet, and Mum would sit them down and she'd just cook them something. And that's a charity that you can't even explain that. She's not looking for any gratification from anyone. She just wants to help people. And that's the sort of person she was. And, it's just incredible. The relationship me and Mum had was not just mother and son relationship. We were very close. I feel like my mum was my best friend. We could talk about anything. We just share thoughts about everything. Our relationship was so much more than just mum and son. She would almost be like a therapist to me. If I ever had problems, she has the correct answer. If I ever had questions about things, she would point me in the right direction. And, for example, if I ever was feeling miserable, she would tell me to get on with it, boy. I think everybody knows that. She'd tell me to snap out of it and excuse my language, she would tell me to sort my SHIT out and get on with it. And that's what I did. So that's how I'm going to live my life and remember that she always was behind me. She always pushed me. I just want to thank everybody for the support and love. And just share some of the last few words Mum said to me was, the last few words she said to me was, "I love you forever." And that I do. I love my mum forever, and I am proud to be her son. I'm very proud to be her son, and I'm going to live the rest of my life in her honour, and I'm going to do everything I can to make her proud. Thank you.
Cliff. So we're going to hear from Cliff now, and he's going to introduce his song.
Thanks for coming. Thank you very much for coming to my mum. Happy birthday, Mum. She loved us all. Sonny explained how Mum was. Me and my mum had a different relationship. I mean, it's really nice listening to Michael talk about chilies, because when we were naughty, when me and Sarah was naughty, when we were younger, if we didn't behave ourselves, she'd put chili in our food. Yeah, we'd turn up a little. It'd be hot, you know, when you're 6 years old and you get chili. It's hot, you'd know about it and she'd laugh. You know? we grew to love chili. My mum loved, she loved us all so much, and she just, you know, you could just see by the grandkids, and you know what, Mum loved us all so much, we were all by Mum to her last breath. She called me up May 2020, I was in London, and told me she wasn't feeling too well. And then January the 9th, 2021, she told me that she was ill. And then January the 11th, 2021, I came back. And now I understand why. She just wanted us all around. She knew she was going to go. And she just wanted us all around. And I'm really grateful for that. I don't really want to talk about a song that I made for Mum, because I made a lot of songs for my mum. The resonance of a song we made here was made in South Africa, though, and it was talking about people who make you. It was made in Soweto, in South Africa, and people are very. In South Africa, people believe in their grandparents' parents. They're always looking to find reason. So the song was made behind who your makers were. It was only after Mum died I realised what the song meant. It wasn't made in that sense then. It was just made out of people we love. But I'm just very grateful that I hold my mum very closely. She's not in pain. I'm very selfish. My partner knows how much pain I go through because, well, she sees it every day. So from a selfish perspective, I'm always crying because I didn't really want her to go. But I'm also really grateful that she's gone because she's not in pain and she's with her mum and her brothers and the people she needs to be with. So, you know, thank you all for turning up. And if you're all going to come for some food, enjoy it. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Malungelo kuwe, ngithandaza kuwe, oh. Life can be so hard. Sometimes things don't come together as we want them to. As we want them to. I had to live my life. So many mistakes. I realized that there is nothing without you. Nothing without you. Right like I'm about to kill myself. I think about how you have been my help. I come to you. Oh, darling. Itela, I'm under to fight my battles and courage to carry on. I pray for wisdom to be smart. Oh, itanda zaguwe, itela guwe. Oh, darling. Sengikhathele izinkinga zakulo mhlabathi hleze ngihlobeni. Oh darling, ngoba wena uphakeme, awuhlula ilutho balekela kuwe. Oh darling, I'm gonna scream and shout until you come. I'm gonna praise your name until you answer me. Oh darling, oh, ibalekela kuwe, ngithandaza kuwe. Oh, darling. Ngithandaza kuwe, ngithela kuwe. Oh, darling. Oh, darling. Ngithandaza kuwe, ngithela kuwe. Oh,
Mr. Malungelo says.
So many people. Thank you all for the compliments on my sari today. I took it from my mum's wardrobe. Growing up, my parents worked tirelessly, yet they always made time for us, their children. Sunday mornings were a cherished ritual filled with the aroma of my mother's chickpea curry and the joy of dipping puris into sweet tea, followed by family picnics in Merrick Park or the New Forest. These were treasured moments where my mum's culinary delights brought us closer together. One of my earliest memories encapsulates the warmth and hospitality she exuded. In the bustling kitchen of our family restaurant, surrounded by loved ones, she effortlessly created an atmosphere of joy and togetherness. One particular memory etched in my heart is the day Dad surprised Mum with a new home. Amidst the excitement and anticipation, Mum's reaction was pure astonishment and gratitude. It was a testament to Dad's love and Mum's presence as the heart of our family. Throughout my life, Mum remained as my rock and my biggest source of strength. Her support during the births of all of my 4 children and her constant presence in my darkest hours are testaments to her boundless love. Our journey together took us to distant lands, including a memorable trip to India in 2020, the first and last holiday we had alone together, where we shared not only colourful adventures, but also profound moments of spiritual connection. As Mum's health declined, our roles shifted, and the frequency of our phone calls waned. Each visit to her bedside became a cherished opportunity to express my love and gratitude. My mum is a beautiful person with a golden heart made from sheer excellence. A woman with the beautifulest of smiles that lights up any room that she enters. A smile I could adore any minute of the day, and still it would not be enough. A woman who has the softest of hearts, so soft that I could lay there in peace and comfort for the rest of my life. A gorgeous woman who is ever so hardworking. A beautiful woman who was made to walk this earth with elegance. That's my mother, and so much more. This is what I know, that when I am sad, I think of you and you make me smile. When the best or the worst things happen to me, you were always the first one that I called. My mother was a beacon of strength, love, and resilience, and she touched the lives of all who knew her. Today, as we bid farewell to this remarkable woman, let us not mourn her passing, but celebrate the legacy that she leaves behind. Her positive aura, her unconditional love, and her beautiful presence, which will forever resonate within our hearts. So I ask you all to join me in honouring the memory of my mother, a true legend, whose spirit will continue to guide and inspire us always. My greatest wish is for her to be happy and at peace without any pain whatsoever, wherever she is. May she be granted every inch of success in this world and the next. As long as I am alive, my beautiful mummy will be forever loved. Thank you.
So, we've heard some amazing things, haven't we? When we speak of somebody who is a pillar of the community, we think of somebody often who's well known, who's active and highly regarded, and certainly Helen was all of those things. But when you think about what a pillar does, it supports. It's a vital element of any structure, and that's also true of Helen. And in her quiet, strong way, she was a fundamental support to many of you and to our community, and we are very grateful. So if you would like to join the family, they would love to see you afterwards at the town hall. I would just like to invite you all to show your appreciation to the family one last time and to Helen. Shall we give them all a big hand?
Thanks everyone to come in. Thank you. Thank you so much.